Welcome back to this I-24 News Evening Edition, and this is the Daily Debate. The toppling of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak 3 years ago was a milestone in the so-called Arab Spring, but the optimism of the demonstrators in Tahrir Square changed into the turbulence of political insecurity, and the country's government is now back to the military rule it ousted 3 years ago. The terror attacks over this weekend only strengthened the understanding that the path of Egypt's future is far from clear. With me today to try and see maybe in some way the future of Egypt is Ephraim Kam, Senior Research Fellow at the Institute for National Security Studies, and Zvi Mazel, former Israeli ambassador to Egypt. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. So are we really back to the days of Mubarak?
No, I don't think so. Absolutely not. Something has happened after the fall of Mubarak. The people of Egypt has lost its fear. They know that they can stop a dictatorship, and they understand that they should do it if it ever happens again. What does it mean? That the alliance between Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, which is considered a strong man, Minister of Defense, Commander of the Army, and the people of Egypt is for a short term and on condition. If he appears to remake a dictatorship like the one used to be Mubarak or Nasser, I think people will go into the street and they will fight him, and there will be a civil war. And they understand it very well. So when people, especially media, is saying that he reminds them of Gamal Abdel Nasser, I don't accept it absolutely. It is right that he's in uniform with black glasses, yeah. Right. But it's a new situation completely. He knows it, and the people of Egypt knows it.
It's a new situation.
I agree with you, but in a sense, I think the many Egyptians are reminded by this current situation, are reminded of Mubarak's time, because the army is suppressing the Muslim Brotherhood. The army is suppressing the opposition. There is a strong man who is going to be probably the next president of Egypt. In a sense, it's returned, partly at least, to the days of Mubarak, I think. This is the way that many Egyptians see it.
Should we expect that the Muslim Brotherhood would disappear in the next few years, like in Mubarak's time?
The Muslim Brotherhood will not disappear, but they are not as strong as one may think. I think that the number of members of the Muslim Brothers is about between 500 to 700,000 people. That's all. They have quite a few millions of supporters. This is absolutely right. They can be quelled. They absolutely not to the last one. But listen, when Gamal Abdel Nasser wanted to finish with the Muslim Brothers, who tried to kill him in 1954 in Alexandria, he put into prison 60,000 Muslim brothers into prison, and executed their leaders. Sisi cannot do it because this is not, he cannot repeat. He cannot go back to Nasser's time. But it means they can be stopped, absolutely. The problem is also the West, and when I speak about West, I mean the White House, President Obama, the European Union. They don't give their support, the free support, and to Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, to the regime. Absolutely not. And by behaving like this, they encourage the Muslim Brothers, and even the jihadists and Salafists, to fight back.
So who is supporting them? Who is supporting him?
Who?
Who's supporting Abdel Fattah al-Sisi?
The people of Egypt, and that's the most important, because the fact is that the people of Egypt decided at a certain time.
About the outside support, is Saudi Arabia supporting him?
Okay, outside, yes. Saudi Arabia, probably Jordan, probably Morocco, but they don't count a lot. I mean, the countries that count are Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries. They can give him a lot of money. That speaking about political support is not enough. He needs to lean on the United States and the European Union, because it needs technology, it needs investment, and it needs moral support. And this is not being given to him. And it, in the eyes of the Muslim brothers, it's encouragement to them to continue to fight him. And this is a very, very bad situation for him.
I heard here something very maybe worrying, that in a case that this regime won't be able to manage to, let's say, keep the situation calm in Egypt, we will see a civil war in Egypt once again. And it seems that this romance is not over between the Muslim Brotherhood and the opposition and Mubarak's and the military. This ritual, this dance is never over. And the Egyptians, it seems, are not learning from the history.
I tend to believe that Egypt is going to face now a wave of terror operations for probably a long period of time. How long, I cannot say. But I don't think it's going to evolve into a civil war like the case of Syria. I think Egypt is still very far from it, and Egypt is not Syria. But I think Egypt is going to suffer from terrorism in the next future, because we don't see at the moment any kind of, even the beginning of a dialogue between the Muslim Brotherhood and the military regime, because the Muslim Brotherhood don't want to have any kind of dialogue with the regime. And in addition, there are all kinds of other elements beyond the Muslim Brotherhood: Al-Qaeda members, jihadists, Salafists, whoever you want, Bedouins from Sinai, who are participating in these operations. And this is part of the problem that Egypt is facing already now.
So if we're talking about Sinai, and you mentioned Sinai, this enclave is actually right now, it's like an open space that anyone and everybody can do whatever they want to do in. The question, and you know, let's not forget that this place is one of the biggest tourism and one of the biggest economy incomes that Egypt has. So how does Egypt going to get out of this mess in Egypt, in Sinai?
Well, I think that Egypt has no other choice but to get out from it. It's difficult. I think that in the last 2 or 3 months, the Egyptian security forces and the Egyptian army had quite a good success. They killed a lot of terrorists, they arrested a lot of them, but still they are there, because Sinai is 60,000 square kilometers, deserts and mountains, very difficult to find the people. And it's not easy for the army to operate in such an area. But they have to fight. They have to go on to continue. They have no other choice. They cannot lose their country, you see. So, and then after all, they are stronger than the Salafists. The Salafists have the advantage of terrorism, of guerrilla operating. This is right. But one shouldn't forget another thing. All the mechanism of security, internal security, was completely dissolved after the fall of Mubarak. Until now, Sisi has not succeeded in reshaping it, in forming it again, setting up again. So it's a problem for him. It will take some time, you see. And then another remark, which is quite, I think we should also mention. During all the time of Mubarak, there was terrorism in Egypt. During the 90s, if you remember Gamal Islami and Jihad, yeah. I was at that time ambassador, and during those years there were about 1,000 people killed: Egyptian security, civilians, security personnel, and tourists. You remember the attack on Luxor, where 57 tourists from Switzerland, Japan, and France, I think, were killed. So it's an endemic. Terrorism is endemic in Egypt. But it never really perturbed the life in Egypt. Now it looks quite serious, but I believe that the army will overcome with time, absolutely. And don't forget also the roadmap is going forwards. The referendum was to confirm the constitution was done. It's okay. The Sisi, the new government, they got a majority, 98%.
98%. It really reminds the days of Mubarak, I have to say.
Yes, I know
many got 95%.
Yes, many people
votes.
wrote about it. But don't forget that the Muslim Brothers told the supporters not to vote at all, not to vote against. Had they voted against, they would have had about 20-25%, and that would have prepared them for the legislative election. So they made a very big mistake, you see.
I'm trying to understand. Let's take it to Israel and look at it from the Israeli perspective. Who's better for Israel, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi or Mubarak, or maybe even Morsi?
No, for sure, Sisi is much better than Morsi. I cannot compare Sisi to Mubarak because Sisi is not the ruler of Egypt, and we have to wait and see how he's going to behave. But there is no doubt, for Israel, Sisi is much, much better than Morsi. First of all, because Morsi, in a way, hated Israel. He didn't speak to Israelis. He didn't intend to speak to Israelis. Sisi someday will speak, directly or indirectly, I think. The cooperation between the two armies, Israeli one and the Egyptian one, now under the rule of the military, is much better than it was under the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's different. So I think, and there is a lot of cooperation, especially I would say with regard to Sinai, to operation of the military inside
exactly
Sinai.
What I wanted to ask you, what is the amount of cooperation between Israel and Egypt concerning the enclave?
I don't know
Sinai
exactly
enclave.
what is operation because both parties don't speak about that. But as far as I understand, we allow the Egyptian army to introduce more and deploy more and more forces into Sinai as much as they need in order to sustain, to contain the Bedouins, the jihadists, the terror operations in Sinai. I assume, I don't know, but assume logically is that there is exchange of intelligence regarding those activists in Sinai. There are some other aspects to this cooperation, but I think this cooperation today is much better than it was during or under Morsi. So it's different.
In your personal and professional idea, do you think that the situation right now in Egypt is stable and can continue to be stable, can be stabled after the last election?
It is not stable now. At that moment, when we speak,
no, but
it's not.
Can it be stable?
It can be, absolutely. Absolutely, because there is no other solution. As I said before, the roadmap is on the way. Okay, and this is very important. The first step was done, constitution. Second, presidential election. It will be held in March, I think. You see, then legislative. Nobody can stop it. There will be some bombs. The people will be killed, but they just cannot stop it. You see, and once all the new institution will be based and functioning, I think the Muslim brothers will understand that they cannot go on like that. Maybe the Salafists will continue a little bit more, and there will be some people who will die. But Egypt is a big country, 1 million square kilometers, 85 million people. You know, you cannot stop their march. And they are going to have probably a man which is considered a strong man, and they will try to tackle the economy and the social problem. Absolutely. And in this issue, maybe we hope, Israelis, that will understand that it will be positive and good for him to collaborate with Israel on economic issue. We are ready. We are ready to cooperate on technology, economy, whatever. I mean, so I'm a little bit maybe more optimistic than others. You see, because I don't see any other solution for such a big country. Terrorism cannot take over such a country. It is not Syria or not even Iraq. It's different.
Dr. Kam?
I would say that at the moment there is no doubt Egypt is not stable. It's not a stable country. And there are two ways to stop this deterioration. One, that both parties will agree to some kind of dialogue in which the Muslim Brotherhood will participate and will involve in the ruling of the country. The other one is if the military will be able to crush the Muslim Brotherhood and the other jihadists who are now acting in Egypt. I tend to assume that the second option might be more relevant. It's not going to happen tomorrow morning. It will take time, but eventually I hope very much that this will be the end of this story.
Yeah, and again, it's the Middle East, and who knows?
The Middle East, you're right.
The Middle East, who knows? Gentlemen, thank you very much for this conversation, and thank you. Our viewers, we're going out for a small break, 10 minutes break, an update from our news desk, and then we will be back for the I-24 News one-on-one. Don't go anywhere. 10 minutes break, and then we will be back.